We all know that familiar noise. So now you can maybe listen to that part. But this is, so where normally this would just be public between us, now it's public. I mean, private between us. Now it's public. Now I think I'll let them listen to that. So, yeah. This is just a joke for me, for fun. That's the Borg Queen, and that's Amber. Do you see a resemblance? Yeah? Sorry. Okay, we'll get a little more serious, but I'm just wondering. So also, people think that this culture thing, so we'll call this culture out here. Culture is supposed to be static, right? Like it's this thing that, that's what we think. But really, I like to think of it about like a drum beat. So it is this constant thing. And so we have to constantly sort of update our software. Whereas this is a little bit less, crazy noise. And then in here, it's like, it's pretty quiet. But as soon as you get out of here, it's gonna go. So you gotta be careful with that. That Amber is riding that real loud wave very well. So in her asking some of this to be done, the Macy meetings. This is when cyborg anthropology sort of started to become a real field. You got Margaret Mead, I think Alfred von Neumann, some pretty famous anthropologists and technologists, had a nice little gathering like this, and they said, hey, what's happening with this tech stuff? Like, it's something different's going on here. In part because of a new thing, cybernetics. Cybernetics is a Greek word that means to steer, and like you're on a boat, right? I mean, the Greeks had boats. That, the Odyssey, you sailed to Troy or whatever. And so the reason why Norbert Wiener, who invented all this on Wikipedia, used that word is because when you're on the sea, I don't know if has anyone been on a boat? A couple of you? Okay. Has anyone been at the tiller of a boat? This is the tiller. Or the helm. It's difficult because the sea is rolling, and it's not like being on the land. So that dynamic steering, and actually you're on a planet that's moving around the sun like 1,000,000 times an hour, and the galaxy's moving. So cybernetics is sort of a field that helps deal with these things. And like Amber was dealing with so many things, the compression of space and time, technological wormholes, having these addictive brain changers, It's also warm, so it's not just that it's caffeine. But so cybernetics is the art of looking at dynamic systems. Cybernetics, cyborg, cyborg, that's why they're connected. So past applications, this one's pretty weird. In reproductive technology, like mothers are sort of more machine than woman anymore. I've seen some of that stuff where they're all like hooked up and they're getting drugs pumped into them and they're getting the babies cut out sometimes. Now, you can even like grow them in a tube, kind of. I mean, you can sort of, with assisted reproductive things, you can shoot it in there and then you can genetically see whether or not it's going to have Marfan syndrome or whatever. That's sort of the past. That's actually not contemporary, but it's still sort of gross and relevant. I do see some cyborgs in the back. I appreciate that. So current applications is more geared toward this constant use of the cell phone. Never mind. So one of the things that anthropologists do sometimes is that they're hired as consultants to Motorola, Intel, whoever. And as a part of that, cultures are so different. Like each one of us in this room is like in a different culture. Some think it's okay to, drink alcohol. Some think that's completely, against their religion. Some think this, some think that. So an anthropologist is someone who's trained, in part, in dealing with all of that. And so when you've got something that everybody's going to use, everybody uses cell phones. Everybody in the room has a cell phone. Everybody's constantly using their cell phones. And the anthropologist can increase the user experience to make that more applicable. So that's some of the current things. So okay, now we're getting into other things Amber wants us to deal with. This is the book. And I think I brought a copy just to be swag or whatever. Let me pass it around. At the presentation of self in everyday life. she talked a little bit about it. Basically, that's where... So the classic example from the book is that children who are whispering to each other will behave differently than when they're talking to their parents. I mean, that's pretty obvious. We're going duh. But no one had ever formally articulated that where you could cite it in a paper. So that's why, in part, that this is fairly significant. And so Amber really likes this. She uses it a lot in her paper. But it sort of extends to, this is a drawing made by Google people. So offline, you know, there's the ego and the one on the right. There's a little ego. And she has domains where it's like, these are my serving friends, this is my family, college friends, New York friends. And you can participate in appropriate ways, like the people who are not in class saying, well, it's okay for me to participate by not showing up. I'd rather go hang out with my friends or sleep in. That's one domain, where they say, it's not okay for me to skip Thanksgiving. I cannot skip Thanksgiving. But those can only coexist in mutually exclusive spaces. It can't be okay for you to skip one thing over here and then not skip this thing over here. So, but that's the problem online. And literally, I've you know, I'm 23, but I've sort of grown up through some of this stuff. And I don't know if anyone played EverQuest, but I played that as a pretty young kid, and that's wild to be 8 years old and to be like talking with people all over the globe, stimulating, killing monsters, getting experience. But the point is that on Facebook, there's no distinction. I hated that for a while. Finally, they're adding some more privacy features, but I got people from my high school talking to me about what they have for breakfast. I have some Ayurvedic doctor telling me how to juice her vitamins and all these other things. And then when I post something, like sometimes I just want to post a song because I think it's fun. Sometimes I want to post like a serious TED talk or, you know, my cat died or something. But everybody gets it. So the people at Google were aware of this, which is why they developed Google Circles. Google Circles is exactly trying to solve the problem, but part of the thing is that Facebook, I mean, Amber discusses this in some of her lengthier talks, but Facebook's design is like perfect. It's just like a tribe or like a village. Like you walk in and there's your home screen and they're all your friends and they're telling you things that they want you to know and you can like them. Whereas Google is not as good. I mean, they're working on it. They're working on it, and they do solve the problem of the cacophony of being more out here rather than more in here. I mean, you want it sort of private with certain things, right? So there's that. And that's all from the book that's sort of being passed around. So there's a quote from the same guy who made that. Social networks don't necessarily create more connections. They just make our existing connections more visible. What does that mean? That means that it's invisible to me that, do you want to come in with something? We've got an interlocutor. All right, the visible. So it's very visible to me in class when someone's drinking or writing, paying attention, not paying attention. It's also visible to you when I'm drinking coffee or when I'm being bored or distracted. So, but it's invisible to me, like what you're thinking, or if we have like a shared cousin, or did we go to the same high school? That's invisible. Whereas Facebook makes all those things extremely visible, to the point where I got my chromosomes tested from 23andMe, and some fourth cousin contacted me and said, "Hey, I'm your cousin. Let's be friends. We've both got a 5% chance of cystic fibrosis. Isn't that great?" Yeah, this is super. So that's the invisible becoming visible. That's the invisible becoming. The visible is also becoming invisible. Amber right now is working. She just started her own company and is millions of dollars. Or she got bought out by a company that has millions of dollars. She's really into this other book, so I'll pass this around. It's called The Culture in a Liquid Modern World. Now, if anybody who's used any Apple products, those screens are liquid, right? I can like click on here, and I can have a button be anywhere on the screen. You just program it in. What she's really into these days is that with GPS technology, she like has apps. I have the apps on my phone. With GPS technology, you can like be walking someplace and then get an alert about something, whether it's a deal at Macy's is having a sale. You're just walking by Macy's. Normally you need a sign that says, or something can buzz on your phone that says, hey, you need to buy a new pair of shoes. They've got some on sale. So from normally it's solid, whereas so this is solid. I can't really move it. It's sort of clunky. Whereas then with the iPhone, it's sort of liquid. It's sort of like, ooh, apps. And then with GPS, which is what she's on the frontiers, you can have it in the air. So solid, liquid, gas. Everybody remember that from science? No? That's the fundamental three states of matter. There's solid, you heat it up. Sort of liquid, you heat up as air. Molecules. All right, so let's keep moving. There's this other thing I've sticky noted just for all of you because I care about you all so very much. All the pictures, because I figure the pictures are the only thing that matters to our ADD people. What they're saying is we're all sort of Mr. Potato Head. What does that mean? We're Mr. Potato Head because humans are the only species on the planet by which we're comprehensive. So, for example, there are vines that grow in the Amazon rainforest that can only be found in the Amazon rainforest. There are birds that can fly in the sky pretty good, but when they're on the ground, they're like easy prey. There are fish in the sea that they can swim real good, but when they're out, they're not. But humans, and she said this in the talk, we can fly. You get on a plane. If you want to be a fish, you just put on a scuba gear. You want to go out. Nobody else can go out to outer space. Maybe jellyfish or something, but. Okay. Yeah, all right. There's a prosthetic impulse. This is cool. Oh, I see. Oh, to use the technology.
So this is hilarious. I'm sorry, who's leaving? What's your name? Latrine. So funny thing about technology. It's never been repaired in 340. This room was already scheduled at 12, even though they checked. And anyway, we have to end class, so Josh is going to somehow wrap up in 2 minutes. And we thank him for being so flexible. What's that? We're going to leave, but we're not going to pack our stuff up. We're going to cancel the rest of class, and you're all going to celebrate that part. And if the young woman had just held on, she might have gotten credit for hanging out for 2 more minutes, but she will not. So I appreciate you, Josh, for being so ridiculously flexible on this comedy of errors. So if you can summarize in 2 minutes.
Steve Jobs would do better. So look, we're here. You're leaving. You're all going to put on your cell phone, iPods. That makes you a cyborg. Watch out for the big culture. You're in school to learn how to deal with it. Here's Steve Jobs.
I think one of the things that really separates us from the high primates is that we're tool builders. Now, I read a study that measured the efficiency of locomotion for various species on the planet. The condor used the least energy to move a kilometer. And humans came in with a rather unimpressive showing, about a third of the way down the list. It was not too proud of showing for the crown of creation. So that didn't look so good, but then somebody at Scientific American had the insight to test the efficiency of locomotion for a man on a bicycle. And a man on a bicycle, or a human on a bicycle, blew the condor away, completely off the top of the charts. And that's what a computer is to me. What a computer is to me is, it's the most remarkable tool that we've ever come up with. And it's the equivalent of a bicycle for our minds.
There you go. Thank you very much for your attention.
And just a small, thank you to Josh for being so easygoing with all these hiccups. Come back next week and we'll probably postpone the video or not show it at all, given all that's happening. Those of you who were not ignoring the talk for the entire time, and those of you who were know who you are, you will get extra credit for coming today and sort of dealing with all of this mess. We do have exams to give back. Anybody who wants to see the your exam, you could just kind of hang around. I guess we can go back to 340 because we don't need technology for that. So if you want your exam to go back to 340, and Sarah will bring along a